Hi, welcome to the KJ Badminton Parental Coffee Talk. As parent, how many of you have actually been through a few chapters where you always have this in mind where, hey, you know what, if I were to start this earlier, if I were to do this earlier, the results would be different. Yes, that's what we're going to talk about today, starting with an end in mind. As a young athlete, imagine an 8, 9, 10, 11 years old young badminton player, what would they have in mind? And how can they decide for their own on things that's happening around them, which will eventually and realitily affect them to become how strong a player they are in the future. So starting with end in mind is really about how far or what's the goal you want to set for them. Let's say for example, I just want them to become a school representative, to get into the MSSD competition, or I want them to get into state level so that they would hold some advantages of moving into a further badminton world in the future. So that's very, very different. So we will want to set as a parent some goals that we want them to achieve, because depending on the level of goals that you set, it's gonna be very different set of activities that we want to invest into the kids and eventually to lead them there or there. So it's going to be very, very different. It is also at the same time, certain parents that I've talked to, they always have this very undecided mindset, and eventually they would go with the flow and saying that, hey, you know what, let's see how it goes, let's see how it goes, let's see how it goes. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. When you say, let's see how it goes, it is going to do the normal thing you'll be doing, and assuming that the kid one day will suddenly wake up and become very good in badminton. That's not how it works. Badminton, it's all about training, it's all about knowledge, and it's all about how you execute it as a parent. I want to give you some examples. Certain kids would actually pick it up really fast, and certain kids will actually need their own pace. If you were to average it out and say that, hey, you know what, we need like 2 to 3 years to get all the basics right, then moving into the competition, experience phase, moving into the next phase, so on and so forth. And that average of 2 to 3 years, it depends on how fast or how early you start. If you were to start early, I have seen enough examples that kids that started at 5, 6, 7 years old would usually have a lot of advantages compared to the rest who start later. From skill perspective, they would master it earlier. Eventually they will move into competition phase and have the competition feeling mastered earlier than those that started late. And eventually those are normally at the pinnacle on the top, will actually move quicker and get to the goals. In this case, I'm talking about, let's say for example, a state team or a national team entries. So that itself will decide how far. If you, let's say for example, you start your kids at 5-year-old versus you start your kids at 8 years old, you start your kids at 11 or 13 years old, it is very possible. All stages are possible. It depends on how fast or how slow your kids picked up. So it is critical for us to understand where we want ourselves to lead them to and invest in a certain right set of activities to make sure that they are growing to that level. I would like to talk about Tim. Tim, my very, very own son. He started his journey, badminton training journey, in a training center that's very near our home. Very convenient. I really loved it. Always drop him there during Saturday morning, and we will then go do our own things, go pasar, buy things, then come back and pick him up. Then happy, we go home, and eventually we take this. Hey, you know what? We have done our training. Hey, we would expect that to be a very, very different, because hey, our kids go to training, many other kids don't go training. So we expect him to become a Lee Chong Wei, in the years to come. But the things doesn't happen that way. He spent 4 years there. Of course, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 8 and 9. Up to a 9-year-old, we start realizing that, enough time spent. Let's move forward and try him out in competition. So we enter one of the competition in OUG area. I still remember that very clearly. So we went there, went into the very first game. Oh my goodness, that was a disaster. So it is very sad to see him being trashed. It's like not even near. You don't even know what to do when you get into a competition. And he lost the game at the very first round, and we left the competition in tears. Obviously, kids when they lose a badminton game, it is normal that they cry because they really want to win, and we start to learn from that point. So we then go back to the coach and start asking, hey, what happened? We have trained here for 4 years. We've gone out there and we're not even compatible. Forget about winning the game, right? So that itself, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call that says that, hey, you know what? Something has to be done. Then we will look left, we look right, and we will start to understand what's going on and make others stronger compared to our very own son. And we realize that, hey, the training of once a week, it's not going to get you there. So the coach eventually start to share a little bit more when you have that interaction and start asking, hey, why is this losing thing keep going on, right? So the coach says that you have to increase the frequency. Once a week, it's not going to make it there. So okay, fine, we will increase our frequency. Then eventually, when we move to second times or 2 times a week, 3 times a week within a very short period of time, we start realizing that, oh, okay, yeah, he plays better right now, he's more consistent, and that goes on. By the age of 9, eventually we move over to another coach which can actually deliver better. So we pay attention to the coaches around when we go to the competition and start asking, which are the coach that would have a stronger player, and at age of 9, eventually move to another coach, and age of 11, move to another coach, and so on. So what I want to say is, if I would to start Tim in a very different mindset and say that, you know what, we will want to bring him to a state level. That's the goal. That's the goal. Okay, that's it. We would want to target it. It will be very different. My homework or research stage would start much earlier compared to when he was already a 9-year-old. So we wasted like 4 years. That 4 years is more like fun time for him to enjoy and so on. It would have started earlier to bring him to a more serious place that can produce more or stronger athletes. That is going to make a very, very different outcome. So saying that, I would want to urge the parent here, do not delay that decision. And of course, it doesn't really mean that don't let the boys or the girls enjoy their initial trainings. No, let them do it for the first half a year, 1 year. Let them do it. Let them enjoy it. They are going to love the session. You're going to see them very, very cute inside the court. Let them have that and let them enjoy it. But to a point that you also have to understand that the time that they have, let's say for example, you start them at 10, let's say for example, you only have up to age of 16 to make an impact to making the state team, because after 16 making the state team might not be as impactful, simply because there isn't junior competition at national level for 17 and above. So really want to make it them earlier. If you ask me, ideally to bring them into the state team at 12. So do your math backwards and see how many years that you have, and gauge yourself with the state team level on where your kids are, and see what are the things that you need to do to close the gap. Eventually, then you would realize that your investment, the changes that you're starting to make, is making a positive impact to the kids. So again, kids' time is very limited. Once they pass that, and they would not have the time back. We all know. Very, very important. If you do it earlier, start earlier, just like savings, right? Very, very simple examples of that. Savings, you save your every penny earlier, in the earlier days, you will have a lot more. It's like the skill in badminton development is really, really like a skill. It is nothing less than that. I want you to imagine on a Kung Fu series, right? So if you go into a Kung Fu training, it is everything about execution, everything about skill, everything about how smooth or how quick you can react in a certain situation. And that takes a lot of time. So that itself, I would want to, again, close this by emphasizing on a few things. Number one, never take away the fun time of the kid. Allow them to enjoy that initial 6-9 months of the training and see, did they really like it or did they not? If you are seeing, hey, they are enjoying it, especially they like winning the game, talk to them. Talk to them in a serious manner. It's like an adult to adult. Do you want to give it a shot? Do you want to represent your school to play badminton at MSSD? Do you want to eventually give it a shot of going into the state team. Have that serious conversation, one-to-one, heart-to-heart conversation, and if they say yes, let's plan out something different. And the earlier that you have that time to develop your basic skill, the better and the stronger you will be as a player in the time comes. So with that, I'll close the session. All the best to our parents, and thank you very much. If you have not done so, please subscribe, like, and share the video. I will appreciate it. Thank you.